Hello, welcome back to the VCU Blockchain Podcast. Today we have Chris and Alex from Bitcoin Magazine. So I'll let you guys kind of introduce yourselves and what consumes your time.
Uh, I'm Alex, head of video at Bitcoin Magazine. Do a lot of social media, making videos, making content about Bitcoin, writing about Bitcoin, kind of journalist style. And I'll let Chris introduce himself.
Hi, how's it going? I'm Chris Alamo. I am the producer for the Bitcoin Magazine live stream that we have from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday right now. But in the future, it'll be all 5 days, Monday through Friday. And then I'm also the Twitch project manager. So playing video games, talking about Bitcoin, gifting Bitcoin across the Lightning Network, and all that fun stuff.
Wow, it sounds like you guys have a lot of fun at work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
we
Chris.
do. It's a lot.
So Chris, you were just live streaming. You playing golf, talk about Bitcoin. You talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's fun. I got hired on back in November, so pretty recently as the Twitch project manager for my role. Bitcoin Magazine, we're kind of just really trying to expand as a media organization and try and spread the word about Bitcoin through any avenue possible. All platforms of social media, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch. So my role is specifically for the Twitch one, and there seems to be a good I guess intersection between Bitcoin and video gaming. Gamers seem to be, more aware about technology and, the meme that Bitcoin's magic internet money, I think bodes well with most video gamers.
So to take a step back, what kind of got you guys like? What lit the light bulb in your head about Bitcoin?
I'll let Alex go first here if he wants.
Sure. I was fighting MMA. Didn't have time really for a full-time job. Had full-time jobs before, but I was just all in on fighting, like living in a Jackson Wink, like a professional MMA academy. And I was broke, so I was looking for ways to make money. So I started trading, um, just normal assets, stocks. And I found that I perform best on options that like call options on Bitcoin mining stocks. And then, things like MicroStrategy. And I kind of just fell down the rabbit hole that way. And then I pretty quickly, I did a little bit of like kind of crypto and shit coining. And then I came right back to Bitcoin probably within the span of a couple months. Um, and then I've been Bitcoin only ever since. So my strategy since then is just buy and hold and work on my security and privacy practices basically.
Yeah, and I guess mine's a little bit different. I'm an engineer by degree. So chemical engineer was my undergraduate degree. When I graduated college in 2015, I really had a passion for investing. And I kind of thought, most people that deal with money think they know what money is. And I'd say even most investment advisors or CFPs or CFAs think that, with trading in the stock market or bonds or real estate, whatever it may be, they think they have a good understanding of money. So I was in that same boat, kind of naive, thinking I knew what money was. And it wasn't till 2020, kind of when the pandemic happened and, the stock market crashed and things arguably were getting worse on Main Street, but they were getting better on Wall Street. I mean, if you were a Wall Street trading fund manager, the best thing to do was to do absolutely nothing. And you saw if you just invested in the S&P 500 index, that you did a 37% increase from the year before, and you could be sitting on a float in the Hamptons, and that was your strategy. Your clients just wire you money and just keep buying the S&P 500 index over the course of the year. So that definitely woke me up, and I had started an investing podcast as well. And kind of going down the investing journey, kind of understanding investing more so of how to evaluate a company, how to evaluate just various businesses. And then kind of when you see it's like playing the game of Monopoly, and if they're continually stuffing fiat dollars on the board per se, or just printing money, as was the case in 2020, everything's going up in value in a nominal terms, in terms of fiat currency, because you're increasing the amount of money in the board or in the game or in life. So that's kind of when I kind of found Bitcoin. I started to buy a little bit in June of 2020, not really knowing what I was doing, but I was kind of, I guess, fully orange pilled probably October or November of 2021. Yeah, 2020 basically.
Oh, so yeah, you guys definitely took different paths. Alex, like those Bitcoin stocks can get pretty volatile. They're like leverage Bitcoin positions basically.
Yeah, it depends what you're into. I would say I got more basically lucky with my first three big trades than anything else. I mean, I knew how options worked. I studied them for a long time before I put money in one. Um, but now I think that the best strategy is really just to buy Bitcoin and hold it. And once I reach, I mean, thanks to the dip, I've achieved some like pretty crazy stacking goals in the last 2 years. But eventually, if I want to take on some more risk, I'll probably take out call options on Bitcoin, like micro contracts, just for fun. You know what I mean? Calls on the price. But yeah, it can get pretty shaky. You definitely don't want to do a big allocation into something like that.
How do you guys get yield on your Bitcoin?
Me personally, I get none. It's, I buy it, I self custody, I run my own node, and just kind of hold on for dear life, as the meme entails.
Diamond hands.
Yeah, I have the same strategy as Chris pretty much. I run a node, I hold my own Bitcoin. I don't there's a trade-off there. Any service like the yield services in Bitcoin and using Bitcoin as a collateral is pretty new to the industry. So the instruments for doing that, in my opinion, are not safe enough for the reward. I don't need, if Bitcoin is going up with this recent year, it's probably a little less than 200% on average per year. But if you know what you're holding and you value it as much as I do, you wouldn't risk letting someone else hang on to that Bitcoin, even a little bit of it for you. However, I will say once again, if you've reached your stacking goals and you have a good chunk of Bitcoin and you want to take on a little additional risk, I think there's nothing wrong with people putting a small allocation in some of these instruments to try out generating yield or taking out a loan using Bitcoin as collateral. I mean, there's just better and worse trade-offs basically. If you go try Coinbase or BlockFi or something like that, I've tried all that stuff, but I really feel more comfortable just holding my own Bitcoin.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah. It kind of expanding on Alex's thought there. Yeah, I think when a lot of times they're offering, I've looked at the yields and they offer 6 to 7 to maybe 9%. And that's not even normally in Bitcoin. That's normally in their USD or Tether equivalent. I just think, like Alex said, if it's going up 200% a year, 150% a year, even 100% a year, do I want to risk getting an additional 6% to lose the 100% gains that I'm grabbing? I just think it just has too much third-party risk. I guess if those numbers went up to 20 or 25% or 30%, maybe I'd consider it. But even then, there's still third-party risk of them defaulting.
what about like bridging it, like wrapping it and then bridging it to other chains where you still have custody of it, but it's not like the native Bitcoin, it's the wrapped version.
Well, by definition, you don't have custody of it when you do that,
I
right?
think, yeah, and I think also you're kind of it introduces another attack vector. Like we've seen a lot. I won't mention the other altcoins, but you see a lot of times with all these other altcoins, they say that their smart contracts are so great, but then all of a sudden you've accidentally locked the smart contract. They fat fingered, and instead of locking in for 9 years, they locked it in for 90 years or 99 years. Or, there's a small little bug in the contract that people don't realize. And then people just basically scoop up the Bitcoin or whatever altcoin that you have locked up in that contract as well.
What do
I
you
think
guys
I would.
oh, you go.
Uh, I was gonna say I think like one distinction that I'd like to point out that might make our strategy make a little bit more sense, and this is I think I can speak to quite a few people at Bitcoin Magazine. It's kind of become our mission to explain this to people. There's a fundamental difference between Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies. And I don't just say that as a shill. I mean, I could back that up with evidence. It's not that it's decentralized. It is, in fact, decentralized. It's the most decentralized. It's that when you have Bitcoin, you have property that's immune to confiscation and it's immune to governance. So no group of people can make a decision that will change what Bitcoin is and disenfranchise me by way of, moving the goalposts, or inflate the supply or deflate the supply. Everything's out in the open and it's scheduled, and I get a vote, and you have to have consensus, and every 10 minutes we achieve that consensus together. Other blockchains don't operate that way at all, which seems like a slight difference on the surface, but it actually puts Bitcoin in an asset class of its own, because everything else that you think you own in this world, your house, your land, those are all confiscatable completely. You're just renting them from other agencies, bigger companies, the government. And I always give this example, and I'm sorry if this is a long rant, but I think it's important. Most of my family didn't believe me when I said Bitcoin was all they own. They didn't have any Bitcoin. They hadn't spent time researching it. They didn't understand the difference between Bitcoin and crypto. And then we got a letter from the government of eminent domain that they were going to seize some of our farmland for a private interest company's pipeline. And that helped them understand that this thing, that even though we've owned it for 100 years, this land has been in our family, it's still subject to seizure at will by the government. And there's nothing you can, I mean, we fight it, of course, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's an uphill battle. And I think that's like an important lesson with everything. You only rent your house, you only rent your space, you only really are renting your time when you're working in fiat, because all of your time is being debased through inflation. So Bitcoin is not a hedge against all that. It's a shelter, and it's the only system outside of that where you can actually own things.
Oh, that was beautifully put. Thank you for that. Yeah, I've definitely ventured, all around in the crypto ecosystem. And, people always, like kind of say they're bad things about Bitcoin, but to me, the beauty in Bitcoin is the simplicity. Like everything you just said, like it only does what it's, supposed to do. It doesn't try to, do all this extra stuff. And that's, to me, that's the real beauty in it. It's the simplicity of it. The fact that you said it is the most decentralized, and it is an entirely different asset class because it's just simple. So when you guys are at Thanksgiving dinner and someone's like, "What is Bitcoin?" What do you say?
Oh, I guess, how do I normally start off? It depends on you. I guess you have to cater your response to who you're talking to. If it's someone in your family.
Let's say it's like your aunt or someone, or like someone who's like a senior citizen who's like bad with computers.
Yeah, so I guess if it's my great aunt or my grandmother, I'd say it's money that can't be confiscated, and it's the best asset in the world. I guess that's for simplicity's sake. You could definitely say that, yeah, I think it's like the best asset in the world, and kind of describe the returns that it's seen, describe the money printing that's going on in the government. And I think they have a lot of understanding of gold, or the importance of stuff like that. So relating it to gold would be a good example as well.
Yeah,
Alex?
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree with that. If I think most of my older relatives either have gold or understand the value of holding a long-term store of value like gold or land. So they get the analogy. So I would probably explain it by way of property. But I will say also, as time goes on, you kind of learn better ways to talk about this stuff, and more ways. That's one of the great things about Michael Saylor, is every time you listen to him do an interview, he's trying out new metaphors to reach new people. Because sometimes you can hear the same thing 100 times, but it's just like that 101st time, that really particular way someone says it, it'll kind of stick with you and resonate with you. So I'm always changing up my approach, but I don't have time to convince people to buy Bitcoin. I'm going to be honest, man. Most of my friends, like a lot of people I grew up with, like, they'll laugh at me, or poke fun or something like that. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's like what Satoshi said: if you don't get it, I don't have time to explain it to you. And what I found is, as the price goes up, those people start coming to me and asking for advice then, which is the completely wrong time to do it, right? You should be getting in at the low price. But of course, every time Bitcoin hits an all-time high, I get like everyone I ever know just reaching out and asking me how to buy some.
What do you guys think of like protocols like Stacks or like ICP that are claiming that they're gonna put smart contracts on Bitcoin. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know them too much. I've heard of Stacks. I've not done enough research into it. I think it's good for Bitcoin. I think if they want to experiment and they do something that's really revolutionary or great, and it works for Bitcoin, I think that there can be a conversation to have a Bitcoin improvement protocol to incorporate that into Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is the great thing about it is anyone can do anything they want with it. I know there's been a lot of talk with people saying, oh, maybe the Lightning Network's only for payments and it shouldn't be used for talking with people such as Sphinx Chat, or, you know, maybe not for sending pictures or video across the Lightning Network and bogging the network down. But I think Bitcoin ultimately shows, you know, if you're telling someone what they can or cannot do with their money, then, you know, that's not what Bitcoin was designed for. It's designed to be censorship resistant, designed to be unconfiscatable by governments or corporations or other people. And so, yeah, if a smart contract works out really even on Stacks or even another chain, and then Bitcoin decides to incorporate it and it goes through the whole process of review, I think that's good for Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Alex,
this is one of the benefits of crypto, I would say. I mean, for starters, I think like the brightest and the best all come home to Bitcoin, and they're all working on Bitcoin already. People who are more like fiat minded or incentivized by, you know, venture capitalist funding are probably developing other projects, but I don't believe that you can bootstrap something into existence that's better than Bitcoin. It's a once in a human race type of invention. And people generally who disagree with that haven't spent more than 10 minutes studying it. It's like I said, it's fundamentally different from crypto. So one of the benefits of crypto, they have all this innovation going on, but you know, once in a while they're going to have a good idea, and it's up to the Bitcoin protocol and the people of Bitcoin who run nodes, you know, Chris and myself among them, to decide which of these innovations do we want to bring home to Bitcoin. But there's kind of another argument underlying that. Like, does Bitcoin need to change at all? Do we need, obviously we need to, you know, keep the protocol upgraded, keep improving user experience, but does it need to fundamentally change what it does? Well, when we adopted the Lightning Network, that was a way of us saying, yes, on second layers, why not? Let's scale to compete in transaction size with Visa and MasterCard. And I think that was a good move and a great thing. There's some more controversial upgrades right now, such as, you know, CTV. There's all kinds of ideas out there, and you know, ultimately I think the best of them will come home to roost in Bitcoin. But I every time you introduce something new into the code, you're introducing an inherent risk of bugs. So I really like that Bitcoin is slow to develop. People often, you know, make fun of it for being slow. Bitcoin transactions in themselves are not slow at all. To achieve final settlement, which is something your bank does in days, weeks, months, and actually never, because your assets are always subject to seizure, but you know, they're always can be confiscated. So there's no real final settlement in this world outside of Bitcoin, in my opinion, because it's the only objective set of facts that we've agreed, like these funds are settled. You can never, you know what I mean? You either have the private keys, and you know, to these, or you don't. Like, to achieve that, I think Bitcoin is plenty fast, and we're going to keep developing on second layers and more layers. And I think it'll get to a point eventually where people won't even know they're using Bitcoin, right? It'll be seamless, just like, you know, opening your Tor browser, opening whatever, your Chrome browser, just hopping onto the internet. It'll be, you'll just send it and receive it.
So
Yeah.
one of the main things, you know, people claim like you know, that comparison to gold, they always say, you know, it's a store of value. What would you say to like some of your friends that texted you at the top, and like, how do I buy Bitcoin? And they went on Coinbase, and then 2 months later, it's now 50%. They're like, what type of store of value is this? What do you say to your friends?
I say you're not patient. The greatest like sin in this space is impatience. And I think they're looking at it from a wrong framework. They're looking at it from a framework of dollar denomination. That's fiat denomination. You know, the word fiat is more and more people are starting to understand what that means. It means by mandate. It means your money is chosen for you by force. You don't have any free will. Your money's debased. If you work at a grocery store and are paid in fiat and you didn't get more than a 10% raise, you got a pay cut this year. I hate to break it to you. So, I mean, you don't want to denominate your Bitcoin in dollars. We all get excited when the price goes high, but I'm not selling. I denominate my Bitcoin in Bitcoin terms. 10 Bitcoin, 11 Bitcoin, 12 Bit, you just keep counting up, Or if you're not there yet, you start in sats and you sats are, 100 million satoshis to a Bitcoin. So a lot of people that are getting in, I mean, this and last year, I guess, are working their way towards one Bitcoin, just couple thousand sats at a time. You can get like 2,000 sats for your dollar. That's the mindset of people that are that's the mindset of those who got ridiculously wealthy from 2017 on, from 2013 to 2017. Like, each of these halving cycles, the people who denominate in Bitcoin terms have primed themselves to hold long term. The people who denominate their Bitcoin in dollar terms are preparing themselves to sell. They're psychologically attacking themselves when they do that, and there is a price that they will sell at. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal quotes from a couple legends in their own mind. Not that I always agree with their decisions, but I know Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger said, if your house were to drop 10%, 15%, 25% value, do you sell it the next day as you're worried? No, the best investors hold on for the long term. And Warren Buffett's also said, buy something that you want to hold forever. Like your period of time of holding that asset class is forever. And then I'll steal two other quotes, I guess, from Jeff Bezos and also Michael Saylor. They were in the heart of the internet boom and ultimately bust. I think Amazon stock was at $131 at the peak in like the late 90s / early 2000s, only to crash down to $6. That's a haircut of what the math off I think it's like a 99% decrease in value. Michael Saylor had a very similar thing. And I know a couple economists and fund managers alike have made fun of Michael Saylor, saying, oh, he's lost 50% of his value over this last year because he was buying at $65, $69 per Bitcoin. But Michael Saylor's like, you think this scares me? I saw my internet stock lose 99% of my value and struggle to stay in business then. He's like, and I came out the other side a stronger, better CEO, better investor, and better manager of money. So he's like, yeah, Bitcoin taking a 50% haircut, it's just a rounding error in the long scheme of things.
So you guys have Bitcoin Magazine is hosting a pretty big event in April. So can you guys show that for us?
Oh yeah, big time. I'll say this: if you want to come, get your tickets today. Use our promo code. I don't know if you can put this on screen somehow, but let people know it's YTMAG. That's the promo code that should get you 10% off. You can any of the tickets: Sound Money Music Festival, General Admission Pass, Industry Day Pass, Whale Pass. If you're a baller, you can get 100% off those tickets with
100%
off. No. Sorry, $100 off. I can't give out the super promo code. $100 off if you pay in Bitcoin, I believe. So, go check that out. Use that promo code. Get yourself some tickets before the price goes up, because they are scarce. But it's going to be the biggest event of the year, financially, like in the fintech world, but also just in general. 35,000 plus people partying, doing, speakers, networking, all kinds of stuff, ways to spend your Bitcoin, ways to earn Bitcoin. We've got Miami Beach booked up. It's going to be great, man. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. It's even for if you want to learn about Bitcoin, if you're new to Bitcoin, if you're a more veteran, someone in Bitcoin, if you want to just try and get a job, Industry Day is a great day to do that. There we have a mining focus this year. A lot of people of our customers or previous attendees want more of a mining focus, at home mining, business mining. We also have an open source stage, which is talking with the open source developers. So I'm assuming a lot of companies will be built or will start out of Bitcoin 2022. Yeah, like I said, use YTMAG as the code, and you can go to Bitcoin 2022. Just go to b.tc/conference to look at the tickets there.
Yeah, I went last year, and I can honestly say it was like, so what I did is I used a bunch of my crypto as collateral, and I took out a loan to buy the whale pass. And I can honestly say like it was worth it.
That's awesome.
Even though like in the crash I lost a bunch of money, like the experience I had from just being there, all the people I met, the energy, it was probably the greatest time of my life. And I already bought my tickets. I bought the industry pass for this year. I got my Airbnb. I'm excited, man.
Well, shit, man, we'll have to hang out when you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I see you, we'll have to hang out for sure. Slip you a whale pass little wristband on or something. It's gonna be fun, man. I think it's gonna be scaled up. You'll be surprised. Like the stage this year is bigger than like the whole conference was last year. So I mean, that's just to give you some perspective of how big an event this is. I can't even name some of the people we have coming to participate in this thing, but it's gonna be huge, man.
Yeah, last year at Wynwood, it was crazy. But I know like in South Beach, because I was in South Beach all last summer. I had an internship there. South Beach Convention Center is huge. And then the beach is right there. So like
Hmm.
I'm ready, man.
Yeah, man, I think it's a great opportunity to find work in this space too. Find a job, but also make lasting connections. I think one thing you'll find, and Chris will attest to this, I'm sure, is that the Bitcoin community and the real like market makers and the people at the top of this industry, it's a very small world. I mean, Bitcoin adoption is spreading, don't get me wrong, but you can find a job in this space doing anything. You would have to, it would be hard not to find a job if you were really looking for one in the Bitcoin space.
That's one thing I always tell people. I was like, the opportunity in the space is limitless. Like, right now, at my school, like I go to the business school, all the bunch of those kids, they still want to go work at banks. A bunch of the computer science kids still want to go work at Google. I'm like, working in this blockchain world, I was like, you have so much opportunity. You really stay committed, you can find a job like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the new wave of the internet. I think that this space is growing. If you look at, I know a lot of times we compare Bitcoin to the internet. And if you look at the rate of adoption of the internet, I think in the late or the early 90s was about like 69% year over year. Right now, Bitcoin's adoption by while it's being generated is like 121%. So it's almost twice the speed of the adoption of the internet. And I think it's that much more important than the internet. Not saying the internet's going away tomorrow. And obviously they kind of interoperably work with each other, but it's going to be a huge innovation for the internet and for the future of the world.
So as we begin to wrap it up, I have one question for you guys. How has Bitcoin, changed you and your mindset? Not, like how it changed you and able to like you can buy more stuff, you can experience everything. But how did it change how you perceive the world and how you perceive people?
Yeah, it lowers your time preference. So you kind of start thinking instead of 4-year presidential cycles, instead of 10-year cycles, but more of like generational cycles. I know Alex and I have both talked about never selling. I'm really trying to give this to my great grandkids or my grandkids, like as inheritance or a way for us to stop, like not go poor. And it changes your mentality of things. Why are you saving in this US dollar that they can print ad nauseum for, no cost? And it definitely, I left a great engineering job to go work for Bitcoin Magazine. Not a place that you'd expect a chemical engineer to be, but I see this as like the most important thing I can do that. And I generally mean that. Like a lot of my jobs were very important and they were good for humans, like generating energy or working to improve processes, like very important things. But I see Bitcoin as even more important than those things.
Yeah, I would second that. I mean, I would say it's changed my perspective on almost everything. Just through, I was fortunate enough to help edit the Bitcoin standard and the fiat standard, I'd recommend everyone go read those books. And if you don't have a strong understanding of what money is, they'll change your life. And as a fighter, I didn't have anything, and because of Bitcoin now, I have everything. I have all the time in the world. I have, I mean, I'm not even boasting. I just have more than I could ever need. I'm happy. I do what I want with my time, and I want to work in the Bitcoin space. I want to contribute. Um, just hosting a live show every day. I've got the best job in the world, just chilling. You know what I mean? Talking about Bitcoin all day is great. It's freedom, and it's the kind of freedom where it's like, could pick up and go tomorrow, could move out of the country. If things get too oppressive here, if they start demanding vaccines for normal goods and services, and I find it hard to move about my life, I put 12 to 24 words in my head and pack up and go somewhere else. It's that easy. And I think that feeling of freedom is really liberating, man. And it allows you to kind of plan your time better and focus on becoming the best version of yourself, which sounds cheesy, but it takes time and it takes work. And if you don't have time because you're slaving away at some fiat job for 12 to $20 an hour, and I've been there, man. I did a lot of landscaping and kind of like retail work before I got into Bitcoin, and it's no way to spend your life. It's an uphill battle. I would recommend everyone just buy Bitcoin, hold it, and learn as much as you can, and your life will change.
I really like one thing you said in there. Like, you just remember a 12, 24 word phrase, and you pick up and leave and go wherever you go. I think that's really, that describes everything perfectly in one sentence. Like, there's no restrictions. You just go wherever you want. You have to memorize a couple of words.
Yeah. I mean, the trade-off there, it's not all like what do people say, like hopium. Like, the trade-off there is security is a real thing. And I think Bitcoin has a learning curve. And if you don't put time into learning it, you're not going to get the most value out of it. So there's a trade-off there. It's you have to be your own bank, really, and you have to you don't have to, but if you want the full benefit of sovereignty financially from everyone, then you have to take your security seriously. And there's a wealth of resources online that you can learn about all that.
So is there anything you guys want to leave the audience with?
Yeah. I guess now my birthday's coming up, so I'm on the back end of my 20s, almost entering 30 quite soon. So I guess I know your audience will probably be more college age. So I think make the most out of your life. Really enjoy it, but learning doesn't stop once you leave the university. It only continues. I mean, since I've graduated college, I've learned, I'd say exponentially, and that's kind of the way that Bitcoin's price moves. It goes up and down, and there's hurdles along the way. It can be frustrating to learn self-storage, to learn to operating a node, but those struggles are definitely worth overcoming and continuing to advance your knowledge. If learning was a straight line to success, I don't know if it'd be worth doing. So failing and learning from your failures is the best way to learn.
I'm gonna go. I agree with all that, but I'm gonna go hard in the paint here. My advice would be drop out, bet on yourself, buy Bitcoin. You don't even need health insurance. All these things are scams, and they're lying from you and stealing from you. If people understood, I love this quote recently by Henry Ford, but if people understood how money worked, there'd be a revolution in the streets tomorrow. I think we're going to see large sectors of this fiat monster collapse in the next few years, and you're going to want to be well armed and prepared. And I think the universities are stealing from you. I think you should all drop out and buy Bitcoin.
Mortgage your house.
Yeah, if you already own a house, yeah, for sure, sell it. I don't. It, like I said, it's rental ownership, but there's a different solution for everyone. But get as much of this stuff as you can, man. It's scarce. It's the only scarce asset.
An accumulation game for sure.
That's a great way to end it. So thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Connor, for having us.
For sure, man. Great talking to you, man.